As of January 20th, 2017, Americans have no legitimate government. Well, the elite did it. A coup d'etat has taken place in America. The American coup d'etat is nearly complete. The elite have used election fraud, voter manipulation, and elitist media domination to forcibly place one of their own in direct control of the U.S. government. Appointing Trump as president is a slap in the face of every American citizen. As an equalist, I deplore professional politicians. But what we need is someone less corrupt than them, not someone who's been corrupting our politicians his entire life. The elite placed Trump into the presidency. The pseudo-election took place just as the elite planned. He's the first appointed president with no political, governmental, or leadership experience whatsoever. At least others who've been appointed president, at least they can claim they earned some of it through years of political life. There's always been a step between the elite and their direct, absolute control over the government. This step was most often inconsequential, but it was there nonetheless. And now the elite has succeeded in removing even the illusion of that step. All pretense of honesty and justice has now been eliminated from our political system. By the very definition of the phrase, Trump's placement into the presidency is a conflict of interest. And conflict of interest laws are precisely the laws violated by any elitist who holds public office or influences the government in any way. Trump even has the gall to pack his cabinet with his elitist billionaire buddies, who themselves have no political experience and have been fleecing the U.S. taxpayer for decades. Trump, like all contemporary elite, holds no political or national loyalties. He doesn't bind himself to any political concept or national boundary. Trump is apolitical, meaning his loyalty lies with his wealthy buddies, exclusively with the international elite. If we Americans allow this direct and blatant elitist coup d'etat of our government, we're idiots. Trump is the epitome of American failure, of American corruption. He epitomizes the failure of the American system due to its corruption. Spoiled since birth, Trump is a person who's been handed everything he has. He's gotten everything in his life that he's wanted. All the administrative functions of his multiple companies are handed over to his underlings. And now you allow him to be handed the keys to the kingdom because he muttered a bunch of platitudes against illegal immigrants during his campaign, although he never publicly expressed such attitudes before in his life. One of his main issues of support came from his irresponsible claims about illegal immigration. This was an embarrassment even to those of us equalists who understand the importance of enforcing and even tightening international immigration laws. Trump turned the need and right of a country to protect its own borders into a hodgepodge of racist rants and fascist demagoguery. He's not a racist. His products are produced using foreign labor, and in his corporate dealings, he sells American land to foreigners. That's his job. That's what he does for a living. Like all the elite, he judges people by their wealth and not on any other criteria. I got a whopping $48 a year raise this year. And what I don't need is some damned millionaire in office who doesn't even fit the elite's traditional lowest level of experience requirements being handed the keys to the White House. Someone so despicable he pretended to be racist to purposely garner support from the lowest segment of humanity as his political base. In reality, Trump's fanatical supporters are relatively few and far between. But didn't any of them ever see any of his idiotic, self-promoting TV appearances over the last 30 years? For 3 decades, he made a constant public fool of himself in commercials, guest appearances, and talk shows. He had his own TV show, for God's sake. He played the buffoon on that as well. Didn't his supporters look into any of this? Or did they just not care? Apparently, this is the kind of behavior they want in a leader. Didn't they actually listen to Trump's insane and often incomprehensible campaign rants? Didn't they hear his many errors in fact and his demonstrations of ignorance on most of the issues? Trump even refused to follow elitist tradition and release his tax records. If this isn't a sign of hiding something, I don't know what is. Throughout his whole campaign, he kept secrets from his supporters, and they still defended him as an honest candidate? We know Trump for the same reasons we know Kim Kardashian. Trump's famous for being famous, and not because of any actual achievement. He's a braggart and a dishonest salesman, and that's all he is, and that's all he'll ever be. Only through his relentless and shameless self-promotion do we even know he exists. America's obsessive celebrity worship helped hand Trump the White House. This man can't even handle his own opulent life. His 3 marriages and multiple bankruptcies attest to that. So a spoiled brat, a 4-time failed businessman, a 2-time divorcee, a draft dodger, a TV buffoon, an admitted sexual predator, a person who can't claim any achievement of his own, is now handed the presidency just because he was born rich and he wanted it? And the elite agreed to give it to him. Why? Despite all these strikes against him, they gave him the presidency. Why? Because he's one of them. The facade of elitist separation from political power has now been breached. Elitist ownership of our government has now been declared blatantly and boldly. The coup d'etat has been successful, but it continues. This is a coup d'etat, plain and simple. It's an illegal takeover of our political institutions by the international elite. Despite conflict of interest laws, despite fraud committed during the primaries by the Democratic Party elite, despite Trump being declared winner with high probability of Russian corruption of the results, despite voting machines were hacked and altered, despite many voters were denied their right to vote, despite the Electoral College voted before all the citizens' votes were counted, despite over 50% of Americans refusing to take part in the corrupt two-party joke, and despite over 50% of the voters who did take part voted for someone they didn't want as president, and Trump is still illegally sworn in as our new ruler? Trump never could have been elected behaving as he did the last 30 years or during his campaign. All this indicates loud and clear Trump was to be placed as president no matter what. The moment Trump announced his candidacy, he knew he was going to be given the presidency. The last three acting Republican presidents won under very suspicious and corrupt circumstances. And in 3 out of the last 5 presidential elections, the winner lost the popular vote. So now we have a person heavily invested in the police state industries pretending to be president. But he maintains the power of a real president. And this coup d'etat that put Trump into the White House has corrupted all 2016 election results, local, state, and federal. Yet all this fraud is now actually being enforced by the power of the American elitist police state that Trump and his elitist buddies are invested in so strongly. America, collectively, has officially entered the twilight zone, and it's time we awake from the nightmare. Please share this video and watch my 2 lecture series entitled Equalism and Life Experiment to learn how humanity can unite and free itself from this elitist insanity. Thanks.